The crystal glass had barely reached the wealthy CEO's fingertips when a folded white napkin silently appeared beside his plate. Hidden beneath it was a trembling handwritten message that read only 6 terrifying words. Don't drink it. Leave now. For one frozen heartbeat, the luxurious restaurant became impossibly quiet. Expensive laughter echoed around him. Soft piano music floated through the air, and no one seemed to notice that someone had just tried to save a stranger's life. Yet the fear written into those hurried words felt more real than anything money could buy. Before anyone could react, the CEO instinctively reached forward and gently caught the young waitress by the hand, realizing that whoever had written the warning had just risked everything. If stories about courage, compassion, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things inspire you, we hope you'll stay with us until the very end and share your thoughts about what kindness means to you. The restaurant overlooked the Chicago River, one of the city's most exclusive dining locations where politicians, celebrities, and business leaders regularly gathered. Every detail reflected perfection, from the sparkling chandeliers to the polished marble floors. Among the elegantly dressed staff worked 24-year-old Grace Harper, a quiet waitress who had learned long ago that survival often depended on noticing what everyone else ignored. Growing up in rural Ohio before moving to Illinois, Grace had spent years caring for her younger brother after their parents passed away in a highway accident. Every dollar she earned paid for rent, college classes, and her brother's medical treatments. She had little time for dreams, but she never lost her belief that doing the right thing mattered, even when nobody was watching. That evening, the restaurant welcomed Jonathan Carter, the respected CEO of a billion-dollar technology company headquartered in the United States. Jonathan had built his reputation through relentless work, honest leadership, and charitable donations that quietly helped children's hospitals across the country. Yet success had come at a cost. Since losing his wife several years earlier, he had buried himself in work, trusting very few people. The dinner was supposed to celebrate a major partnership that promised to change the future of renewable energy. Investors smiled confidently, while photographers captured every handshake. Grace noticed something unusual before the first course was even served. One of the temporary bartenders, a man she had never seen before, repeatedly glanced toward Jonathan's reserved table. Another elegantly dressed guest subtly exchanged signals with him. When the wine bottle was opened, Grace saw the bartender briefly disappear behind a service wall where security cameras couldn't reach. Seconds later, he returned with the bottle already prepared. Years earlier, while volunteering at a community emergency center, Grace had attended food safety seminars where investigators explained how tampering sometimes occurred during high-profile events. Nothing looked obvious, but something deep inside her refused to stay silent. She knew accusing anyone without proof could destroy her career forever. Management would likely fire her immediately, and the powerful guests could easily dismiss her as an attention seeker. Still, every instinct warned her that remaining silent might cost an innocent man his life. Her hand shook as she borrowed a pen from another server and scribbled the desperate message on a clean napkin before slipping it beside Jonathan's plate while pretending to refill his water glass. Jonathan had spent decades making difficult decisions worth millions of dollars, yet none felt as immediate as the choice before him. The note carried no signature, no explanation, only raw urgency. When he looked into Grace's frightened eyes, he saw genuine fear rather than manipulation. Instead of causing a public scene, he quietly stood, apologized to the guests, and gently stopped Grace before she hurried away. Security officers noticed immediately. Within moments, Jonathan calmly requested that everyone remain seated while private security discreetly secured the dining room. Laboratory testing later revealed microscopic traces of a dangerous toxin inside the wine intended exclusively for Jonathan's glass. Investigators from federal agencies soon arrived, discovering that the attempted poisoning was connected to a sophisticated corporate conspiracy involving competitors hoping to stop the renewable energy agreement. Several individuals, including the temporary bartender using a false identity, disappeared before police arrived, but security footage and financial records quickly exposed the wider criminal network. Grace suddenly found herself at the center of national attention. News reporters surrounded the restaurant for days, calling her a hero. Yet behind every camera flash stood a frightened young woman wondering whether she had accidentally painted a target on her own back. Anonymous threats appeared online. Strange vehicles occasionally parked outside her apartment building. Her younger brother became terrified every time someone knocked on their door. Jonathan refused to let the woman who had saved his life face those fears alone. Rather than offering only a financial reward, he arranged professional security, legal assistance, and counseling for Grace and her brother. He also quietly learned about her sacrifices, discovering that she had repeatedly postponed finishing college so her brother could receive the medical care he needed. The realization humbled him far more than surviving the assassination attempt itself. Grace possessed something wealth could never purchase: unwavering courage guided entirely by compassion. Weeks turned into months as investigators completed their work. The criminal conspiracy collapsed under overwhelming evidence, preventing similar attacks on other business leaders. Meanwhile, Jonathan invited Grace to visit his company's headquarters, not as a publicity event but as an opportunity. He believed organizations needed employees whose integrity remained unshaken under impossible pressure. Grace accepted an internship in corporate ethics while continuing her education, determined to prove she deserved every opportunity through hard work rather than headlines. Working together changed both of their lives in unexpected ways. Jonathan rediscovered purpose beyond quarterly profits and shareholder meetings. Inspired by Grace's story, he established a nationwide scholarship program for hospitality workers pursuing higher education while supporting family members. Thousands of hardworking servers, cooks, cleaners, and hotel employees eventually benefited from scholarships that carried no publicity campaigns, only hope. Grace flourished inside her new career. She graduated with honors in business administration, eventually leading ethical compliance initiatives designed to protect employees who reported misconduct. Her experiences taught executives that true leadership depended less on authority than on listening to voices often overlooked. Every presentation she gave reminded audiences that courage rarely arrived wearing expensive suits. Sometimes it wore a simple restaurant uniform and carried a serving tray. Years later, Jonathan often returned to the same restaurant overlooking the Chicago River. One framed photograph hung quietly near the entrance, not showing celebrities or famous athletes, but a smiling waitress whose decision had saved countless futures. Customers frequently asked about the picture, and the staff simply explained that one ordinary evening, someone chose compassion over fear. That single choice changed many lives forever. If this story has touched your heart, please share your thoughts below about a time when one act of kindness changed someone's life or your own. Your words may encourage another person who needs hope today. As the sun reflected across the Chicago skyline, Grace looked toward the river with quiet gratitude. She understood that courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Jonathan understood that success meant very little unless it was used to lift others. Together they proved that one handwritten note, offered without expectation of reward, could interrupt evil, protect countless innocent lives, and inspire a future built on trust instead of fear. In a world often filled with suspicion and selfishness, their story became a reminder that ordinary people still possess the extraordinary power to change another person's destiny through a single selfless act. Sometimes, the greatest miracles begin with 6 simple words written by a trembling hand.